My parents saw my wine collection and decided I was an alcoholic and not worthy of the apartment. They gave me, so I should give my house to my perfect brother, but I'll make sure he ends up arrested. Before watching the video, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I'd also really appreciate a like and a subscribe. The most interesting comment will be included in the next videos. Thank you to each and every one of you. Enjoy watching. My name's Brian, 32, male, and I need to get something off my chest before I actually lose my mind. I never thought I'd be in this kind of family drama, but here I am, heart pounding, fingers shaking, because it feels like my own parents are trying to erase me out of my own life. I've always had this passion that people don't really understand. Wine. Not drinking it, collecting it. To me, each bottle isn't just alcohol, it's history. It's a story in glass. I got a French Bordeaux from '82 that came from a vineyard rebuilt after a flood, an Italian Barolo tied to a family that survived the war, even a dusty California vintage my grandfather once raved about before he died. It's culture. It's legacy. It's something I've poured my soul into. And yeah, I store them carefully in my apartment, which, important note, is legally mine. But when my parents, Linda, 61, and Robert, 63, saw the shelves lined with bottles, they didn't see history. They saw alcoholism. They saw shame. They called me pathetic and an addict in denial. My mom actually sneered. No wonder you never got married. Who'd want to live with a drunk? My dad just stood there nodding like her echo chamber, like he always does. Meanwhile, my older brother Mark, 35, is the golden child. Always has been. He's the perfect one, with the good job in finance, the wife, the kids, the big house in the suburbs. Growing up, if I aced a test, my parents would say, "Good job, Brian." If Mark so much as tied his shoelaces, they'd throw a damn parade. He was always the heir. I was the spare. And now, apparently, they've decided my apartment, the one they signed over to me years ago, is wasted on me. They said, "Mark could actually use this place, Brian. He has a family. You just sit here with your bottles." As if my life isn't worth the space I occupy. As if my passions are garbage compared to whatever pedestal they built under Mark's feet. I told them flat out, it's mine, legally. You gave it to me. End of discussion. But instead of dropping it, they turned nasty. They started guilt-tripping, saying I was selfish, saying Mark deserved it more because he's responsible. My mom even cried, these big crocodile tears, whispering, "You don't want to break this family apart over something as stupid as wine, do you?" That's when Mark himself started circling like a vulture. He wasn't even subtle about it. He smirked, said stuff like, "Don't worry, Bree. I'll take good care of the place once you're ready to be reasonable." I swear I've never hated someone so much in my life. Mark's smug little comment about taking good care of the place hit me harder than I want to admit, because it wasn't new. It was the same tone he's used my entire life, like everything I own, everything I work for, is just a placeholder until he decides to swoop in and claim it. We grew up in a small house outside Philadelphia, and from the very beginning, the script was set. Mark was the achiever. I was the quirky one. When Mark made the varsity basketball team, my parents threw a barbecue. When I won a statewide essay contest about American history, my mom hung it on the fridge for a week, then replaced it with Mark's Most Improved Player ribbon. That favoritism didn't just sting, it shaped everything. Mark learned early that he could get away with almost anything. He once borrowed my guitar without asking, smashed it at a party, and when I begged my parents for help replacing it, they said, Stop being dramatic, Brian. It was an accident. Be proud of your brother for being social. I mowed lawns for a year to buy a new one. Mark never even said sorry. So when I finally got my apartment signed over by my parents when I was 27, it felt like the one thing that was truly mine. They framed it like a gift to help me get started in life, but I knew the real reason. Mark didn't want it. He and his wife already had a suburban townhouse, so giving me the city apartment was their way of throwing scraps in my direction. Fine. Scraps or not, I took it and built something that reflected me. The shelves, the lighting, the climate control, all designed around preserving bottles I had saved for years. And now, 5 years later, they want to rewrite history. Suddenly that apartment isn't a gift. It's a family resource that I'm hoarding. Suddenly the years of effort I've put into making it mine mean nothing compared to Mark's supposed need. The worst part? They do it in this patronizing, almost gaslighting way. My mom kept touching my arm and saying, "Honey, don't you think it's time to grow up and let go of these childish attachments? Wine, apartments. It's all just things. Family is what matters." Meanwhile, she's fully ready to throw me under the bus for the sake of their golden child. And Mark, God, Mark, he feeds off it. He texted me that night, "Thanks for being mature about this. Mom and Dad said you're finally coming around. Can't wait to start moving in." I nearly put my fist through the wall. After that text about moving in, I thought maybe it was just Mark being his usual arrogant self. But I underestimated just how far he was willing to go. The first sign was a phone call from a stranger asking if the apartment was still available for rent. I was confused at first, thought maybe they had the wrong number. But then more calls came, a dozen in 1 week. People asking about the 2-bedroom in Center City they had seen online. My stomach sank. I searched, and sure enough, there were fake listings on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace using my address with pictures that had clearly been taken from my own social media. The ad said, "Charming apartment for rent. Move-in ready. $1,500 a month. Contact Mark." My brother's actual name and numbers were listed. I wanted to vomit. He wasn't even hiding. I confronted him immediately. He laughed. "Relax, Bree, it's just a joke. Besides, you don't even use the place right. You treat it like a museum. At least this way, people who actually live in the real world might get a shot at it." I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. But that didn't stop him. The fake ads kept popping up, even after I flagged and reported them. One morning I came home from work and found a couple standing outside my building with suitcases, confused, saying they'd paid a deposit to Mark, and were here to move in. I helped them get their money back by pointing them to the scam reports, but inside I was seething. Mark wasn't just mocking me. He was committing fraud and dragging strangers into it. When I told my parents, hoping for backup, they brushed it off. My dad actually chuckled and said, "Well, maybe this is Brian's sign to let go. You've had your fun with your little wine hobby. Isn't it time to be practical?" My mom chimed in, "Mark just wants to provide for his family. Don't punish him for being ambitious. If you truly cared about us, you'd make sacrifices too." Sacrifices. That's what they called it. Giving up the only place that's mine, the only space where I built something meaningful, just so Mark can have yet another advantage. That night I got another text from Mark. "People actually think your apartment is worth living in. Crazy, right? Don't worry, I'll keep the scammers away once it's officially mine." He was escalating, and for the first time I realized this wasn't just sibling rivalry. He was actively trying to destroy me. By the time that couple showed up with their suitcases, I knew I couldn't just wait for things to calm down. Mark wasn't going to stop. If anything, he was getting bolder because my parents were cheering him on. So I started documenting everything. Every text, every fake listing, every voicemail where he called me a selfish hoarder or told me to be a man and hand it over. And the screenshots went into a folder. I even started screen recording when I flagged the fake rental posts just to prove they existed before he deleted them. It didn't take long before things escalated beyond the internet. One evening I came home to find my apartment door scratched up, deep gouges right around the lock like someone had tried to force it. My stomach dropped. I checked inside and thankfully nothing was missing, but it was clear. Mark wasn't just trying to annoy me online. He was testing boundaries, seeing how far he could push. I installed a security camera the next day, one of those discreet ones you can control from your phone, and sure enough, within a week, it caught Mark himself jiggling my door handle at 11:47 p.m. He looked around, smirked right at the camera, and walked away. The arrogance made my blood boil. When I showed the footage to my parents, hoping maybe this would open their eyes, my mom's face twisted like she'd swallowed something sour. "Brian, don't provoke your brother. He's under a lot of stress providing for his family." My dad added, "You should be grateful he even wants the apartment. It shows he values it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They had flipped reality completely upside down. In their version, I was the problem for defending myself. Mark was the poor, overworked saint who just wanted what was best. That night I sat in the dark with a glass of water, not wine, ironically enough, and thought about how my whole life had been shaped by this narrative. Mark perfect, Brian defective, Mark deserving, Brian selfish. And I realized, if I didn't take control, they would steamroll me until I had nothing left. So I doubled down on documentation, saved everything to both my laptop and an external hard drive. I even asked a couple neighbors who'd seen the renters show up if they'd be willing to write statements. Most said yes, because it was clear now. This wasn't going to end with a family talk or some half-hearted apology. This was war. Update. Wow. I didn't expect this much attention. Honestly, I thought maybe a handful of people would read my rant and tell me to grow a spine, but the response blew me away. Some of you were supportive, telling me to lawyer up, and others were brutal. One guy literally said, "Burn the wine in the apartment down so no one wins." Tempting, not gonna lie. But the overwhelming advice was the same. Document, lawyer, lock it down. So that's exactly what I did. First thing I did was take my entire folder of screenshots, videos, and fake listings to an actual lawyer. I was nervous walking into his office, half expecting him to laugh me out of the room. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, flipped through the evidence, and whistled. "Your brother's not just being a jerk. This is criminal." He explained that posting fake rental ads using my property wasn't just harassment, it was fraud. The couple who showed up with suitcases, they were technically victims of a scam. Add in the attempted break-in I caught on camera, and suddenly Mark wasn't just a smug golden boy anymore. He was looking like a criminal defendant. I won't lie, part of me still hesitated. He's my brother. No matter how much I hate him, there's a lifetime of blood and history there. But then I thought about how my parents looked me in the eye and said I should be grateful Mark wanted to steal my home. That flipped the switch. If they wouldn't protect me, I'd protect myself. I told my lawyer to proceed. He started drafting letters, filing complaints, pulling down every shred of digital evidence before Mark could scrub it. And here's where it gets insane. During his search, the lawyer found that Mark wasn't just messing with my apartment. He'd been running similar fake listings tied to other properties, like entire patterns of scams, multiple victims, different addresses, all pointing back to him. When my lawyer laid it all out, I felt this mix of horror and vindication. Horror because my brother was a full-blown scam artist, and vindication because for once in my life, the golden boy couldn't just smile his way out of consequences. Meanwhile, Mark must have sensed I wasn't rolling over because his text turned nasty. No more smug jokes. Now it was, "You're ruining this family. You'll regret this. Don't make me come back there." That last line made me lock both deadbolts. The investigation is rolling now. My lawyer says it's just a matter of time before things get official. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but for the first time, I feel like the truth is actually on my side. The investigation didn't stay quiet for long. A couple weeks after I handed everything over, I got a call from my lawyer. Police were opening the case. Apparently, Mark had scammed more people than I could have imagined. Fake deposits, fake leases, even using other people's names to collect application fees. It wasn't just petty harassment anymore. It was fraud on a scale that screamed jail time. When the cops showed up at his house with a warrant, the mask slipped. His wife Anna called me that night, hysterical. "What the hell did you do, Brian? They tore through our house in front of the kids." I told her flat out, "I didn't do anything. Mark did. You're just seeing it now because he finally got caught." She hung up on me, but not before I heard her voice crack. Mark, though, he went feral. My phone lit up with texts. First, the usual gaslighting. "You'll regret this. We're family. You've ruined everything." Then straight up threats. "You better watch your back. I'm not going down alone." One came at 2:30 a.m., just a string of screaming emojis and traitor in all caps. I screenshotted everything and sent it to my lawyer. He added harassment charges to the growing pile. My parents, of course, didn't want to hear it. My mom showed up at my apartment unannounced, pounding on the door. When I opened it, she tried to shove past me. "How could you betray your brother like this? He has a family to feed." My dad stood behind her, stone-faced like always, muttering about how I was selfish. I pointed to the security camera still fixed on the doorframe. "He tried to break in here. He scammed strangers out of their money. And you want me to just roll over because he's your golden boy? No, not this time." My mom's face twisted with rage. She actually slapped the doorframe hard enough that the wood splintered. "You're not my son anymore." Then she stormed off. That should have hurt more than it did. But honestly, it felt like the first honest thing she'd ever said to me. Within a month, everything unraveled for Mark. His job put him on leave pending ethical review. Word spread in his neighborhood, and suddenly the guy who bragged about barbecues and finance bonuses was a pariah. His wife packed up the kids and left. And the cherry on top? He was arrested. Fraud, misrepresentation, theft by deception, the works. The man who thought he could bully me out of my own home was now sitting in a courtroom looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Update number 2. So, it finally happened. Mark was arrested. Seeing my brother in handcuffs was surreal, like watching the perfect sun mask ripped off in real time. The responses to my last post were wild. Some of you had me laughing in tears. One person wrote, "Plot twist, Mark tries to list his jail cell on Craigslist for $800 a month." Another called my parents cult leaders of the Church of Mark. Accurate. And then there were the DMs, half telling me to go no contact forever, the other half warning me to change my locks again because narcissists never stay quiet. Honestly, I needed both the humor and the blunt advice. Here's where things stand now. Mark was charged with multiple counts of fraud. Turns out he'd been running his little rental scams for years. My lawyer said investigators found at least 5 other families he scammed deposits from. One woman actually broke down crying in court when she realized she wasn't alone. His job dropped him like a hot rock. He went from regional finance star to unemployable scam artist overnight. Anna, his wife, filed for separation. She moved in with her parents and told him he wasn't welcome around the kids until he got professional help. Her words, not mine. And my parents. That's the part that almost broke me. After years of worshipping the ground Mark walked on, they suddenly had to face the truth. At first they doubled down. Mom cried in the courtroom, wailing about how her baby was being framed. Dad muttered about witch hunts like he was at a bad political rally. But when the evidence kept stacking higher, screenshots, testimonies, my security footage, they stopped mentioning the apartment altogether. The silence was deafening. Last week I actually ran into my dad at the grocery store. He looked 10 years older, gray and hunched, and he couldn't even meet my eyes. He just muttered, "Your mother's not well," and shuffled off. No apology, no acknowledgement, just shame. Meanwhile, Mark's living in their basement now because Anna won't take him back. And get this, he's paying them rent. The same parents who said I didn't deserve an apartment of my own are now charging their golden boy to sleep under their roof. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. But honestly, it's complicated. There's vindication, yes. Relief, absolutely. But mostly there's just this deep exhaustion. Years of being the scapegoat, the screw-up, the one who never measured up. And all along the real fraud was their perfect son. The truth finally spoke for itself. And it was louder than anything I could have said. It's strange how quiet things feel now. For months my life was constant noise. Mark's taunting texts, my parents' guilt trips, strangers knocking on my door with fake leases in hand. And now, silence. The apartment is still mine. Always was, but it feels different now. It's not just 4 walls where I keep my wine. It's proof I survived, proof that I didn't let them erase me. Every bottle on the shelf tells a story, and now the apartment itself has become part of mine. My parents don't bring it up anymore. They don't mention the apartment, the wine, the selfishness. It's like the shame is too heavy for them to carry, so they just avoid it altogether. When I see them, which isn't often, my mom looks past me like I'm a stranger. My dad shuffles around, awkward and silent. The golden boy they worshipped is living under their roof, jobless, paying them rent like some twisted reversal of roles. I'd be lying if I said it doesn't feel like poetic justice. The same parents who called me irresponsible now have to rely on Mark's scam money being gone, his reputation shredded, his marriage cracked. They can't hold up his life as an example anymore because the whole foundation crumbled. And me? I didn't have to scream or beg or throw punches. I didn't have to prove myself to them. The truth did the work. All I had to do was protect myself, gather the evidence, and let reality catch up with Mark. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about all the years I wasted chasing their approval. How many nights I sat up wondering why my best was never enough, why every achievement felt invisible next to Mark's smallest success. But now I realize I don't need their validation. I never did. The other night, I opened one of my bottles. Not one of the rare ones, just a solid red I'd been saving. I poured a glass, sat by the window, and let myself breathe. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the lesser son. I felt like me. The irony isn't lost on me. They branded me an alcoholic over bottles I collected for history, not for drinking. And in the end, it wasn't me drowning in lies. It was Mark. All I had to do was hold my ground. And now, this place, this apartment, this collection, this life, it's mine. Fully, unapologetically mine. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel and like it. You can also watch more shocking stories in the playlist.